Let us pray, friends. Dear Lord, we thank you for your presence here with us this evening. We thank you for our ministers of government and other leaders who are present here today to share with us, to enlighten us, to inform us, and to impart to us useful knowledge about the development of this community. We ask that you would grant them wisdom as they govern, grant them humility and patience, and grant unto them a servant's heart as they execute leadership over those who they have been called to lead. We thank you for the people in this Barbican community, all its citizens and those who do business here. We pray that we will continue to cooperate together for the welfare, good order, and wholesomeness of this community. As we are gathered here for this community meeting, we pray that the issues to be discussed will be central and germane to the lives and livelihood of those who have a stake in this part of the city, that our citizens will be included in any project once qualified, regardless of age, gender, political affiliation, or religious confession. We pray for unity, solidarity, and togetherness. We pray too that as we engage in the reconstruction of a roadway, that we will be guided by your spirit in the building of lives, quality relationships, and a community characterized by respect, peace, justice, and neighborliness. We ask all this in the name of Jesus Christ, our Lord and our Savior. Amen and amen.
Amen.
Thank
You so much, Reverend Trevor Edwards, the pastor of the Barbican Baptist Church here. Well, good evening, good residents of Barbican, Grand Spen, Rovan Heights, Jacks Hill, Cherry Gardens, Graham Heights, Millsboro, and Sandy Park. How are you this evening? Well, come on now. This is the Office of the Prime Minister coming to you. How are you this evening? Wonderful. Well, welcome to the first in a series of what we call OPM Live. Barbican, you are extra special. We chose you because there is development happening in Barbican, and we want to tell you about it. OPM Live is really bringing government to you. There are several plans that have been outlined by the government of Jamaica to ensure that there is real development here. May I at this time pause to recognize the presence of Dr. the Honorable Horace Chang, the Minister without Portfolio in the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation. Also joining us this evening to speak to you is your own Member of Parliament. He is also the Minister of Justice, the Honorable Delroy Chuck. There's a woman that gets things moving in the public sector. She is the Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation, and also at the Office of the Prime Minister. She is Mrs. Audrey Sewell, CDJP. She comes with a lot of credentials and hardworking indeed. Also to come to you this evening is Mr. Stephen Shaw. He is the Communications Manager at the National Works Agency, and he'll be telling you specifically about those plans that are here for you and the development of your area. We'll also be hearing from the councillor for the area, who in fact is the Deputy Mayor of the KSAC, Councillor Winston Ennis. Councillor Ennis? Wonderful. Oh, you just arrived. Wonderful. All right, so let's get things started. Let me invite then Mrs. Audrey Sewell, the Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation and the Office of the Prime Minister, to welcome you to this evening's event and, of course, to tell you a little bit more about what's happening. Mrs. Sewell.
Mic check. Thank you, Naomi. Honorable Delroy Chuck, Member of Parliament and Minister of Justice. Honorable Dr. Horace Chang, Minister without Portfolio in the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation with responsibility for water, housing, and works. board members from the National Water Commission, President from the National Water Commission, Mr. Mark Barnett, Councillor Winston Ennis, Deputy Mayor from the KSA Municipal Corporation, other councillors, other heads of agencies, members of the media, visitors, residents, Mr. Stephen Shaw, who made this happen this afternoon, and other colleagues from the National Works Agency, colleagues from the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation and the Office of the Prime Minister, all good evening. It is indeed my pleasure to be here with you to share with you this afternoon information about the upcoming works, or I should say works that have actually started in your area. The works are being executed through the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation, and this ministry has responsibility for infrastructural works in the government. And some of you may know that it is a large ministry with several portfolio entities. The National Works Agency is one of the entities under the ministry, as well as the National Water Commission, because both entities will be involved in some way or the other in the works that will be done here, because while we do the work, the roads, the road construction component, we will also be doing sewage upgrading and water. Mr. Barnett? Yes. And so it is important to note that all the entities that will be involved are under this ministry. And so it should make our lives easier in terms of the implementation of the project. The project is slated, and you'll hear some more as we progress, to last 4 months. And we will be monitoring both our two main entities, the NWA and the NWC, to ensure that one, we get value for money, and two, that quality work will be done here. We want to share with you this afternoon what the plans are for those of you who have not already been told. We want to hear from you because it is still not late to get your suggestions. And we want to get your buying. We want to help you as we go along, because we know that sometimes you are on the ground and you know what is happening more than we who are in the offices do. So feel free this afternoon to give us your suggestions. Be open as possible with us, because that's what it is all about. And so let me here welcome you all, and for you to know that the gathering here is really to hear from you and to share with you the upcoming plans for now and going forward. Thank you very much, and I do hope that we'll have a very productive evening. And let me say before I close that I heard Naomi saying earlier that persons have been phoning in to say that they are on their way, but they are stuck in traffic. We do hope that at the end of this project, that would be of the past. Have a good evening.
Indeed, P.S. Sewell, that should be of the past once the roadway is complete. May I pause to recognize the former Custos of St. Andrew, Marigold Harding, who has joined us, as well as the chair of the Early Childhood Commission, Mrs. Tricia Williams Singh, who is also here with us. Thank you so much for joining us. And now let's hear from the man who has the honor of being second in command of your city, the Deputy Mayor of the KSAC, Mr. Winston Ennis, who will bring greetings.
To the Minister of Justice and Member of Parliament, Delroy Truck, Minister Horace Strong, and to all and everyone that is here, I want to welcome you this evening to Barbican, Barbican Square. The mayor should have been here to welcome you. However, the mayor is not available this evening, so the deputy is essential. I want you to know that you're not in the Barbican division, you're in the Waterloo division. So I want to welcome you to my division. I'm the councillor for this division, the Waterloo division, one of the best divisions to live in Kingston and St. Andrew. You know, it took me an hour and a half from downtown to reach here. The traffic was very heavy. But I'm looking forward to when it will take me 15 minutes from downtown to get here. So I won't have to pack up work at the KSAC and say, leave that till tomorrow. I can stay and do the work knowing that 15 minutes I'll be in the square of Barbican. What do you have to say about that, residents? I want to welcome you here this evening. And let me say to you, you have the Member of Parliament, and he's also a minister. And you have Mr. Horace Chang. I think he's the man responsible for housing. Residents, let me tell you, don't afraid to show your question this evening. The councillor is here to support you. But remember, this is Barbican. This is the place that we want to open up and bring business, entertainment, prosperity. Welcome again. Welcome to Barbican. Thank you.
All right, so you have a very enthusiastic counselor in Mr. Ennis. Thank you so much, Mr. Ennis, for your welcome. I'm sure that those who are not from the Waterloo Division or from Barbican do feel welcomed with your energetic salutation there. Again, may I ask for those who have friends, and I see the long line of traffic right there on the Lesutian side, that yes, there are people who are coming in. May I ask, though, that you call those who are on their way to tell them to come on. We still have space for those who are not here. For those who are on the outside, may I ask that you come in and fill up the front seats, please. There is space and there are seats available. And now, ladies and gentlemen, the plans that you want to hear about as well. From, I think, way before I was born, this square area existed. I was speaking to a historian earlier today who said that the Barbican area was considered a district within St. Andrew. It wasn't until maybe the 1960s when development started that you started getting the area being called a suburb of St. Andrew. And so there's a lot of history in this area in particular. And I know traffic management, given that you have so many communities here. You have Cherry Gardens, as I said before. You have Rovan Heights around the corner. You have Graham Heights up there, Grand Spen down the road. That a lot of traffic go through this area. And so it's important that as part of the management of not just the traffic, but of the Kingston metropolitan area and the development of the Kingston metropolitan area, we pay attention to the Barbican area in particular to get things flowing and running. And so there's a man who works at the National Works Agency who understands all the plans that they have for this area and who can not just talk about it, but also show you the plans on the screen. Please put your hands together and help me welcome Mr. Stephen Shaw, Communications Manager at the National Works Agency.
Thanks, Naomi. I believe the Permanent Secretary did a good job at saluting those persons who are important among us. Everybody is, but of course in a setting such as this, we usually make special mention of some persons. And in this case, Dr. Chang, Minister Chuck, Deputy Mayor, Pastor, residents, well-wishers, friends, those listening by radio, watching by television, I want to say good evening to you all. Now, the task is mine this evening to help you to understand some of the processes that went into us coming to this place and what you should expect as we roll out this project over the next 4 months. Now, one of the key things that we had to do before we got to this place was to acquire properties. Indeed, we had to acquire some 30 parcels of land, and our partner in this regard, another member of the MEGJC family, the National Land Agency, were on board, and we were able to acquire the much needed properties to facilitate the widening of this corridor. I don't know that you have another corridor such as this, in that the amount of money that the government has had to put up to acquire properties in order to provide for the widening is almost as much as that which we are going to be spending to construct the road. Properties in this part of Kingston and St. Andrew, very expensive. So we would have spent upwards of $300 million to acquire properties. Now, traffic management, we intend to hold the contractor to books as it relates to how it is that the traffic will flow when construction is underway. You will not get less than that which you are now accustomed to using. In other words, there are 2 lanes that are always open. 2 lanes will remain open at all times. And so we are going to be ensuring that you have access to the corridor. In terms of timelines, we have some things that we want to accomplish. Key among them is for the NWC, through its contractor, Surrey Paving has been engaged in this regard, to put in a water line and a sewer line. You know, very often we hear complaints coming from persons about construction activities not being properly aligned, not being joined. Water Commission, NWA doing work, Water Commission coming thereafter. This project is an example of how it is that we intend to proceed going forward. Join everything where it is that water is coming, sewer is coming, roads are coming. We do all of the infrastructural works so we don't have a situation where soon thereafter any entity comes digging and you're left in a situation where you have potholes and all that kind of thing. So this here is a good example as to where we're going, and you should be happy. Now, you may have noticed that some works are taking place near Fontana. That bridge is being widened. It's actually called the Bustamante Bridge. And so it is being widened by some 10 meters. We're doing work on the northern side, which is upstream, and then we're going to be doing work downstream. The idea and the intention is that we have to widen this structure to facilitate the additional lanes that are going to be created. Now, we are going to be having turning lanes at Birdsucker Avenue. We are going to be having a signalized intersection there. We are going to be signalizing Jacks Hill, and we are going to be signalizing East Kings House Road and Barbican Road. The flow is going to be different. So this loop that you are accustomed to making for many years will no longer be. All that I'm saying here, we have put together in a presentation, in a 3D presentation, and I'm now going to ask my colleagues from the GIS to first play that which is the one that says Barbican walkthrough. Thereafter, we will play the other one which gives you some overhead idea. So here it is. this presentation. If you turn your eyes to the television monitors, what you're seeing is the road view. In other words, when you're driving along the road, this is what you're going to be seeing. That's Fontana, turning towards East Kings House Road, where we are going to be doing some 141 meters of that road. There's the shoe stand over there, turning movement. So we double back to show you the rest of Barbican Road. Passing, that is the Sugar and Spice building. That's Jack's Hill. 4 lanes and overhead. It's looking something like that. So that loop is going to be closed. So we're going to be having one straight road heading along East Kings House Road. There's a second video which was work in progress, and I'm going to ask the operator to put that up for me, please. This one gives you some overhead shots, and right. So here we go. You can see some of the off-roads more defined. And we are going to be improving like hibiscus. So 15 meters of that is going to be done. All the roads that abut Barbican Road, 15 meters of them will be rehabilitated as well as part of this effort. There's going to be a solid concrete median down the middle of the road. There's going to be improved lighting. And the modern lights that we're using, the LEDs, so the street will be looking much better, much clearer, much brighter. And we expect that persons will be proceeding in a safer way. Here is East Kings House Road again, coming back onto Barbican Road. The road view, there are some errors, but ignore those. The general idea that I wanted to have is what Barbican Road will be looking like at the end of the 4 months. So we are bringing real development, real improvement to this part of Kingston or St. Andrew, and we know that having implemented this project, the kind of traffic snarls that we have been accustomed to will no longer be, and we will have more developments, greater improvements in this part of St. Andrew, and persons will be getting to work much quicker. There should be improved productivity, and the economy overall should benefit from this project that we have started to implement. Thank you very much. Look forward to your questions.
Thank you, Stephen. Oh, wow, that's all I can say. That is impressive. And when is the completion date, if you can remind me? December. Do we have a specific date as yet? All right, so, but for those who understand the Christmas traffic, especially in this area, you can say that you'll have a Merry Christmas from now, right? Once traffic is eased, I think that will take care of a lot of the stress that we have on the roads, and certainly sometimes even during the Christmas period as well. So that looks like it's good news for you here in the Barbican area. Thank you so much, Stephen Shaw. Really appreciate it. And again, ladies and gentlemen, you can view those 3D images. We will put them on social media as of tonight, so you'll be able to see, talk about it, get a chance to feel it. Sometimes when you envision things before they happen, you get a chance to be excited about it. And then, of course, by December, the work will be complete. So thank you once again. May I invite now the Member of Parliament for Northeast St. Andrew, your Member of Parliament. He's also the Minister of Justice, the Honorable Delroy Chuck, to make his presentation. Minister Chuck.
Thank you very much, Naomi. Colleague Minister Horace Chang, Permanent Secretary, the Head of National Water Commission, Mark, the Stephen Shaw, distinguished members in the audience, my two councillors from the Waterloo Division, the Deputy Mayor, who spoke to you, and from the Barbican Division, Joy, stand up and let them see you. So the two councillors that border Barbican Road are here. Let me just say, I am really, really very happy to represent this constituency and to be here tonight. In all sincerity, this is a dream coming true. When I entered Parliament in 1997, and I said, what should really be done for this constituency? I said, ease the traffic flow in and around Barbican. And over the decades, I've seen the traffic jam getting worse. In the mornings, when you go along Barbican Road, it is one long traffic jam. People are there for the better part of an hour every morning. And in the evening, you can see people are in the traffic for the better part of an hour just to go through Barbican. We're very lucky in that in this area, Kingston 6, you have property values doubling and tripling. And the reason why they've doubled and tripled is because people in Norbrook and Cherry Gardens have great difficulty getting through Barbican to go downtown or to Ligoni or Papine. With the widening of this road, and this is something that has been planned for 20 years, but with this widening of Barbican Road, property values will start to go up in Cherry Gardens, Norbrook, and elsewhere, and people will feel easier with traffic flow, whether you live in Norbrook or Barbican. So we are hoping, come 2018, that we won't see any more build-up of traffic on Barbican Road or East Kings House Road. I'm not denying that once they move off Barbican Road, they're going to, really back up on East Kings House Road. And the next thing I'll be asking the Honorable Minister Chang is for the widening of East Kings House Road. And before you know it, I'm going to ask for the widening of Barbican Road right up to Whitcomb. And then Ligoni Avenue needs a greater flow of traffic, because once the traffic moves away, it is going to, go right into these other corridors. But this is a major development for Barbican Square. But I want to tell everyone, this is just the beginning. Over 15 years ago, Ken Lou Shusan and myself had many ideas about the development of this land. And Ken Lou Shusan and his family, decided to buy this land that we're on at this moment. And I'm happy to report that the two councillors, Councillor Joy Cottrell and Winston Ennis, only last week, I think it was, passed a motion in the Kingston and St. Andrew Corporation to sell that piece of land at the roundabout. That land there now, which is the main roundabout, dividing Lou Shusan and this land. And I believe that once the negotiation is completed for the sale and purchase of that piece of land, then a development, which I have seen, a concept, that this area, a major shopping plaza, will be developed here. And I really hope that that will be within the next few years. The concept is there. Underground parking, very nice concept of where you can walk, shop, and really people from all over, Norbrook, Cherry Gardens, elsewhere, will be able to come here and shop, and all the residents living in and around this community will be able to participate and hopefully get jobs that will be created in this very nice zone. So residents and people listening on social media or watching JNN, the plans for this area are in place. Once the roads are finished and the roundabout is removed there's likely to be additional economic activity. And I must say thanks to the Prime Minister's office for putting on this function this evening, because it gives the opportunity to tell the residents exactly what is being done and future plans for the area. Now, I heard Stephen Shaw saying that all the side roads will only get 15 meters of surface dressing. But I have spoken to Dr. Ho from Czech, and I don't want 15 meters, I want 50 meters from Barbican Road. And I told her that's all the MPs asking for. I don't want, apart from jobs to the people in the area when this construction is going on, what I want is all the side road, Bronx, Hibiscus, Halifax, Russell Heights, Birdsucker, Castle Heights, that we get the roads looking exactly like how Barbican Road will look. And I know Barbican Road will be a nylon road. So I want nylon road 50 meters inside these adjoining roads. And my last request, Stephen and Minister Chang, is that although the project is from Jacks Hill to Russell Heights, I want it to go to Acadia. So we have 4 lanes from Acadia right back to Jacks Hill Road. I know it is possible. We have to go find the money so that we can go right back to Acadia. And so this corridor, the only thing that people will be asking for afterwards is for some sleeping policemen, because it will then be a racetrack. But we have to use the traffic police to ensure that, you know, people can enjoy the nylon road, and right around Barbican will be one great area, the sort of pinnacle of what development, roads, etc. should be like in Northeast St. Andrew and Jamaica. And I know that the residents, once we get these 50 meters nylon road, after that, we are going to make sure all of Northeast have nylon road. God bless all of you who are here and those who are listening on JNN and social media. I want to thank the Office of the Prime Minister for putting on this. And I hope when we open the road, we can put on something again like this.
Thank you, Minister Chuck. I can tell you have a very ambitious member of parliament. Minister Chuck, I thought you would have thrown in a few flyovers since you're at it in terms of the development of the roads, right? Thank you so much, Minister. Really appreciate it. So then there is a comprehensive plan to improve the infrastructure, the road infrastructure for you. May I also tell you a little bit about the series? This series, OPM Live, is designated to ensure that the government has small community meetings to make sure that you understand what's happening. Communication is a very, very big part of what we do, especially at the Office of the Prime Minister. The Prime Minister is very keen on ensuring that, one, you understand the plans of the government. And if you listen to the Prime Minister enough, you'll know that he talks about the strategic development, not just of communities, but of Jamaica on a whole. And so it's important that we hear from you, you hear from us, and there is a dialogue taking place so that we can understand what your views are, take them into account in terms of the planning as well. The series really is the first of this kind. We also have running a larger kind of forum, which is the Prime Minister's Town Hall. You would have seen a few of them. We've been to St. Anne, we've been to St. Thomas with that as well. And of course, if you listen to radio, you'll also hear Ask the OPM. So use all the portals, and of course, the Prime Minister is available on Facebook as well, and the ministers as well. So please find them on social media and get your points across, because this is a very responsive kind of governance that is taking place in Jamaica. There's a man who gets things done in the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation. They say he's a minister without portfolio, which really means he's the minister of everything in the ministry. The permanent secretary says he's responsible for housing, water, but a little bit more. He also is a man with very steady hands and a very thoughtful man as well. he sits as one of those in cabinet who also ensures that he sits in cabinet and also ensures that the strategic plans of the Prime Minister is also taken into account. And so, I want to welcome the man who is the Minister without portfolio in the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation. But ladies and gentlemen, for those who are on the outside, may I ask you to come in because we do have a very, very, very special guest. Wasn't designated to be at this forum, but in fact, he says, even though it's a small group forum, it's a community forum, I must be here as well. And so from the blue lights, you will see that the Prime Minister of Jamaica, the Most Honorable Andrew Holness, is coming.
My dream, my dream, my dream, my dream, my dream. Tell you my dream is to live my dream. Hear the most high in my sleep when me sleep. Tell you my goal, my goal, my goal. All of my goal is to reach my goal. Live a happy life, put it on me head soon. Nobody no be cry over me dead. Look at me now, when them treat me less than gold. Put me in a box like a rectangle. Oh oh, look at me now, oh, look at me now, oh. Look at me now, I mean I tell you my life. Where them used to go round me, no one used to come round me. My life was so lonely. Look at me now, look at me now, look at me now. Me I take pain like JUTC. When you see me, it's on TV. Shows after shows after shows after shows. Tours after tours after tours after tours. When me name call, it's like roars after roars. Sweet melody and chorus after chorus. The black and white door, me bust doors after doors after doors after doors after doors after doors. Look at me now, when them treat me less than gold. Put me in a box like a rectangle. Oh oh, look at me now, oh, look at me now, oh, look at me now. I mean I tell you my life, where them used to come round me, go round. No one used to come round me. My life was so lonely. Look at me now, look at me now, look at me now. Jealousy is a blow over. It's a copia and a cover. Judge a soldier from boardhouse to sidewalk to make that sofa. Them say me living at the house and no chat, no sir. Me no mix up in a coca. Marijuana no dust to the nose. I no powder, not a odor. Can't get over. Look at me now, when them treat me less than gold. Put me in a box like a rectangle. Oh oh, look at me now, look at me now, look at me now. I mean I tell you my life, where them used to go round me, go round. No one used to come round me. My life was so lonely. Look at me now, look at me now, look at me now. Me a thank God for me blessing. No me can afford to give back to some of the same people them who used to set things and who used to set it. Now bossing, yeah, most them same one I take bust come up here to be call up them, but me still a call up them. Bust them but me can't trust them, see them but me not trust them.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. Prime Minister Andrew Holness, not slated to be here with us this evening, but thinking it's very, very important to be part of this small community group meeting where he wants to hear from you. And so, Prime Minister, we have, from the NWA's standpoint, outlined the development plans, and I would say, in a word that you always use, the strategic development plans for the infrastructure here in Barbican and surrounding areas. So I'm sure that you will speak to them shortly, but we're about to hear from the Minister without portfolio in the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation, the Honorable Dr. Horace Chang, and after which we'll hear from the Prime Minister, the Most Honorable Andrew Holness. Minister Chang. I think they're conferring a little bit, so we'll talk a little bit. So the signing for the Barbican Improvement Project actually took place last month and is slated to come to an end in December. And finally, Dr. Chang comes up now already. All right. For those on the outside, may I ask you to just again come inside and take your seats, please, as we hear from Dr. Chang, and following which we'll hear from the Prime Minister himself. Dr. Chang.
Thank you, Madam Moderator, Ms. Francis, Honorable Prime Minister, colleague Member of Parliament, Mr. Delroy Chuck, his work, Deputy Mayor, Councillor Winston Ennis, and Councillor Ms. Joy Cottrell. It's good to be in your division, in your constituency. Mr. Mark Barnett of the Water Commission, Mr. Stephen Shaw, Mr. Siblis of the Water Commission Board, our Permanent Secretary, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, the members of the constituency of this distinguished constituency, what is North East St. Andrew. It's a pleasure to be with you this evening in what is part of a series of meetings organized in communities by the Office of the Prime Minister in order to communicate directly with areas in which the government have earmarked special development programs. Part of it is really not just to engage in a political way, but to ensure that citizens will get an understanding of work being done, what their tax dollars are doing, because while we may borrow the money to do the work, it is the taxpayers of the country that will repay it, and you also get an opportunity to make an input in what we're doing as you see what is happening out there. And that's the primary purpose of these committee meetings. My colleague member of parliament and your distinguished member of parliament gave a strong political campaign speech there, but I'm assured he doesn't have to campaign in Northeast St. Andrew. He could have taken the time otherwise, but he expected I'd be here, so he allowed me to speak to the project in the Barbican area. The development and improvement in the Barbican Square area signals the approach of this government to infrastructure development in the island. In fact, the ministry that was created, the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation, was designed to pull together the relevant agencies that you could coordinate and plan activities in a very structured way for the development of the country. And this particular road, Barbican Road, was one of the areas we saw in Kingston as critical to improving the entire infrastructure in Kingston. The basic government policy is that we will create both the regulatory framework and the infrastructure foundation for the economy to grow, and the private sector that will drive that development as we establish this framework. Barbican Road is one of 6 areas in the corporate area we're looking at, but this reflects just what is being done throughout the country. It is true that, in fact, the funding being used is part of the larger project which was called the Major Infrastructure Development Program, a successor to what was previously done by the previous Jamaica Labour Party government, Jamaica Infrastructure Development Program. And there was also a water project of a similar name, National Water, the Jamaica Water Sector Improvement Program. This project is funded by a loan of $353 million from the government of China, the Export-Import Bank of China. But in fact, the prioritization of the projects was done by this government. Fortunately, the money was still there, and Barbican Square was brought on. Your member of parliament and minister continuously, almost irritatingly, speak with all of us who have anything to do with infrastructure. When he doesn't find the prime minister, he finds myself or Minister Warmington, or Minister Vaz, or others of us who he thinks can influence the decision. But it was an easy one for this prime minister who, as I said, have decided that he wants to do work that will have impact on the sustainable development of the country. In Kingston, in addition to the Barbican Square project, we are doing major drain work on Mona Road, which has been there for years since I was at school and at the University of West Indies. It is being fixed. Work is being done on Marcus Garvey Drive, which I think is complete. Work is continuing on the Mandela Highway, and work is to begin in the following areas. In the Constant Spring, which is another major congestion uptown, and that will literally transform much of the activity in that area. Work will also be done on the Hagley Park Road, and lands are being acquired in those areas to pursue those major projects. That is part of the entire program to bring about significant reduction in the traffic congestion in the corporate area. More has to be done, but all of it can be accommodated in the budget at one time. And I have to remind Mr. Cho that there are other areas with congestion throughout the island. All of it cannot be done simultaneously. But in fairness, these are critical areas, and it is important that they are done in a manner that will lead to a cohesive, in a manner that will ensure that the traffic throughout the corporate area will be able to move smoothly and ensure that there will be increased productivity which is what leads to increased prosperity. But it really means that the private sector can begin to invest in these areas with less, with this kind of framework. It's the entire proposal is to bring on stream this kind of infrastructure to allow the private sector to drive development. So when we are finished here, in fact, Barbican Square will become a real center of commercial and economic activity in the carpet area. But the entire properties in here can then be developed, not only with the land be freed up, but the traffic will be able to move in and out, and you can have greater interaction between Barbican, Harper Tree, Crossroads, and downtown Kingston. And in fact, Kingston will have the kind of traffic management that is critical to having a functioning city. The Barbican project itself, of course, cost, I think, $4.4 million and involved the resurfacing of the area demonstrated to you by Mr. Stephen Shaw. It's about 1.1 kilometer of road, but we certainly will have a major contribution to the quality of traffic in Kingston. Just to say to my member of parliament, the idea of you will have the construction, but we don't use policemen so often again in the road traffic control. We will be having modern mechanisms. So in fact, I suspect in the first few months after we finish the road, with the kind of electronic system we'll have, we may earn some money from the speedsters on the road. After they have paid a few fines, I expect that they will reduce the speeding. But we will use different mechanisms to ensure that the traffic is monitored effectively and efficiently, and that the drivers obey the traffic light and, in fact, the speed limits. But we, in fact, intend to introduce in the new Road Traffic Act the introduction of electronic means of identifying those who break the Road Traffic Act. And therefore, I suspect in the early months, we will make back some of the money we spend in Barbican Road fairly quickly. Right. But that is the outline of what we're doing, and in that context, we'll be doing other work. As indicated, water and housing and planning is part of the ministry, and that the Water Commission will be ensuring that the pipes that need to be changed and the sewer collector system that need to be established will be established before the road is paved, so that we'll not come and dig up the good road. And Councillor Ennis will make sure he calls me at the ministry and ensure that he reprimands me very firmly that the road that has just been fixed is now being destroyed by the Water Commission. That is being done. You'll have noticed that in areas around here, some work is being done on the sewer collector system, and more will be done, and on the water mains to ensure that. Water mains are being dug up all over Kingston. What you see happening there is not part of this program, but it's part of our infrastructure development program. We have finally introduced a major program to reduce what we call non-revenue water, which is really designed to reduce the leaks in the carpet here, and therefore means you'll have a more reliable water system, and we don't have to increase the water rate that fast, because we will be able to restore to the system that which is leaking out. Most of you will be aware that for many years we are losing, Mr. Banto, about 60 to 65% of the water we produce to technical losses in the system because of old pipes and bad engineering. That is being corrected, and that's why you'll notice all over Kingston you'll see pipes being dug up, and we expect we're not quite finished by this December, but by the next Christmas, you not only have an outstanding road traffic system and management system in the carpet area, but you'll be what we term in water drought resilient, because by then, with the conclusion of that non-revenue water project, costing some $46 million, it's good money. You will not have to suffer the problem you suffered in the dry season of water lockouts. In addition to that, we are concluding the arrangement for a new water treatment plant in the Rehoboth Gorge, which will, on a private-public partnership basis, that will designed to cost about $50 million. That too will add to the drought resilience of the entire KB region. And I mentioned those to bring to you as taxpayers and residents in the community, the carpet area, that this government's objective, I said, is to spend borrowed money on taxpayers' money and foundational projects, projects that will provide the infrastructure framework for growth and development and brings the prosperity we look for. So when there is congestion and there is of traffic, you not only have reduced production by virtue of the traffic congestion and the time you take to get to work, but it reduces the incentive of private sector to invest and bring about the kind of jobs we want. I can assure you that when that is done and what is happening in the northern St. Andrew, we will find that downtown is developing. The Prime Minister could speak to that if he wished, but he has announced that and will be working on bringing to the port and downtown major development. But I also assure you he has instructed this minister to begin process programs in northern St. Andrew, which will require these roadways, because you'll be bringing major employment into the northern St. Andrew area and ensuring that the people of North St. Andrew and throughout the carpet area will get jobs that will pay good money. The country will have a productive sector, and we have increased wealth being generated for this country. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure to be here. If you have any questions, we'll be available at the end. But what you're seeing is the beginning of the process to really create an infrastructure that can generate sustainable economic growth in Jamaica. I thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, the Honorable Dr. Horace Chang. And certainly those plans seem to be ensuring that Jamaica moves from developing country status to developed country status. You know, when you travel overseas and you see these major roadways and strong infrastructure, that's where we're taking Jamaica. May I pause as well to recognize the presence of Ambassador Nigel Clark. Ambassador Clark arrived with the Prime Minister. Ambassador, welcome, as well as, I think I see Councillor Kenesha Allen. Yes, thank you. All right, welcome too, Councillor. All right, and for those on the outside, please again come in, because when you pose your questions, you'd have to do it from that mic in the middle, and I'll tell you the rules shortly governing the questions. And so, ladies and gentlemen, though not booked to be here, but he's your Prime Minister, and he says, whether large or small, I want to meet with all the people of Jamaica. He often talks about strategic thinking, strategic communication, and certainly this evening, he's here to ensure that as part of his plans for Jamaica, he hears from you in Barbican and shares too with you his plans, not just for Barbican, but for Kingston, and I would say he's going to tell you, whether or not you think he will, trust me, he'll tell you, for the rest of Jamaica. He's a man with big plans. He's a man that works hard as well. Most people would go to bed at 9, 10 o'clock at night, at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning without having taken a break. You'll realize that the Prime Minister is still working, really. He does work that hard, and he doesn't show too many wrinkles for that either. So, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, may I present to you the Prime Minister of Jamaica, the Most Honorable Andrew Holness, to address you here in Barbican this evening.
Now, I didn't plan to come here this evening, but your Member of Parliament insisted that I come. And then my wife called me and said that someone in the audience called her to insist that I come. And you know, I have to follow what my wife says, so. But I want to associate with this project because it is a project that we will use as a signal of the kind of development that we want to do all over Jamaica. Barbican is a special little community. It represents a mix. It represents the spectrum of Jamaica. You have communities like Castle Heights. You have Cherry Gardens. You have Bird Sucker. You have parts of Norbrook. You have Grant Spen. You have Millsboro. You have Sandy Park. You have Jacks Hill. Yes. You have Andrews Pen Lane. You have Arcadia. You have John Blair. A mix. I left out anybody? Waterloo, yes. And part of King's House Avenue. And Aylsham. How could I forget? Aylsham. I said Bird Sucker. So it is a mix. If you want to see what Jamaica look like, Barbican is what you would call the microcosm of Jamaica. Everybody, all strata, all classes, all types, colors, creed, races, religion, right here. And we live together in peace. Because of that as well, it is also an area that has the potential for significant economic expansion. What is holding it back? Infrastructure. Infrastructure in roads, but also infrastructure in housing. Because you have some of the most palatial housing in the surrounding, but you also have some of the housing structure that needs real serious attention. So we have a plan. We have a plan to improve the infrastructure of Barbican. It starts with the road. And as the saying goes, the road to development starts with a road. A significant part of the traffic flow of Kingston, because it has so many suburban communities, gets tied up right here in Barbican, in the Barbican Square. The traffic studies say that about 26,000 motor vehicles pass through Barbican on a daily basis. That's a heavily trafficked area. The present configuration does not allow for traffic to clear easily when there are peak demands for road space, in the mornings and in the evenings. Many people complain how much time they lose, how early they have to get up just to clear this area. Now, Barbican is not the only traffic knot in Kingston, but one by one we are going to unravel those traffic knots. We've started with Marcus Garvey Drive. That's completed. We will open that shortly. The first part of Mandela Highway, that is being done. We are now negotiating the second phase of Mandela Highway. We're going to do Constant Spring Road. Designs are completed. We are in the process of acquiring property. And the Constant Spring Monopark area, that has another set of communities around it that gives it its own form of character around which we can build an economic program. Same as Barbican. The work that will be done here will be to expand the road, eliminate this loop, and I don't know if I'm talking out of terms, but I gather that private sector interests are looking at how they can expand, including acquiring the road that will be abandoned just to your left in the audience. And to develop this very piece of land on which we are having this meeting. That will mean more jobs. But importantly, we will be laying pipelines that will carry the volume of water needed to support both the development of housing and communities, but to support commercial developments. We will be laying sewage pipes as well to support the development of communities and commercial developments alike. When all this is done, traffic will flow much more easily than it is now. You will spend less time in traffic, you will reach work less stressed, and you will come home with a little bit more energy so you can have a little bit more time with your family. But I also want to talk about, aside from the improvement in the roads, which will have LED lights, which will have modern traffic signals, which will have a road surface that can manage heavy traffic flow. But we're also looking at how we can improve the housing infrastructure. I have toured this area more than most areas. In fact, you know, I don't live too far from here, and I traverse through here for many different reasons all the time. So I know what the conditions are. And when I look at some of the housing conditions, for example, in Grand Spen on the Gully Banks, we have to make some intervention there. I remember touring with your councillor, Winston Ennis, and I saw the very ambitious people trying to build their homes. And they said to me, they need to have light poles because they are starting their little concrete structure, but they have to cut up a piece of stick to get electricity. I'm saying that for equity, if we are going to develop this area, the development can't be just one-sided. We must make sure that everybody can see their house as their castle. So I tricked Dr. Clark in driving with me. I promised him a lift home. But he didn't know that I actually wanted him here because he's the chairman of the NHT. Because I wanted him to hear firsthand the directive that within this community there are many persons who are contributors to the NHT, potential contributors as well. And they are making their little investments. Some of them are on irregularly settled property. And I believe it is now time with this massive development that we are putting in for the roads for us to spend the time now to improve housing. We need to find land in this area and build proper housing so that the people here can become formal home owners through the NHT. So that process will begin. And we're going to be doing it not just in Barbican. As I've said before, we're going to start very shortly in Manor Park, Constant Spring Road, another knot in our traffic system which we have to unravel, untangle. But when we do the development there, we're also going to do housing as well. There are many other areas in Jamaica like this, where traffic is becoming a constraint on development. One area that we have to pay real attention to is Montego Bay, where the traffic is literally killing the potential of that city to grow. And Dr. Chang is working very hard to ensure that we will be putting in a bypass for Montego Bay as well. All in all, your government has been working to improve your living conditions. We are working 24/7, 365 to make sure that you can have a better life, to make sure that prosperity is not just a word, but an experience. God bless you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Prime Minister Andrew Holness, for your presentation. And now, ladies and gentlemen, it's your time. How we do these kind of meetings is that we ask that you ask your questions, share with us your ideas as well, and certainly you'll be able to hear from those who are here. May I ask that in terms of asking your questions, one, you form a line, there's a microphone in the middle, that you identify yourself, you get to the microphone, you identify yourself, and state the community from the area that you are, and then you can ask your questions. We ask that you keep it as short as possible so that the Prime Minister and those here would be able to respond. And so it's now time for you. May we have, who do we have sitting on the stage today? 3? All right, let's go. So Minister Shaw, I beg your pardon, Stephen Shaw, Minister Chang and Minister Chuck. Okay, no, Stephen, no, you're not a minister, Stephen, beg your pardon. So Ministers Chang and Chuck and Mr. Stephen Shaw, can you please head to the stage so that you can take the questions of all the residents of the area. All right, fantastic. Recognize the lady at the microphone, ma'am. Yes, go ahead.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Jennifer Clark. I'm from East Kings House Road, and I'm a member of the PNP. Sir Chuck.
Yes.
Okay, and Mr. Shaw, NWA. In terms of East Kings House Road, a couple of years ago, East Kings House Road was turned into a dual carriageway. NWA did the work. We, the people, are still suffering from the want of a better word. The work was not done properly, because at the right at Barbican Drive.
Ladies and gentlemen, please. Jennifer, please just focus and real quickly in terms of the question, please.
Barbican Drive and East Kings House Road, there's always a constant collapse because the road was not done properly. NWA.
So, Jennifer, your question,
My
Jennifer.
thing is, while we welcome the development of Barbican and its environ, Paddington is also suffering from that kind of collapse as well. So, what kind of surety? Because, yes, we are happy for the development. Yes, we want to see Barbican develop. It has been quite a while. This section was closed in my years as a little girl. Now you're closing it back. You opened it, now you're closing it.
Sorry, Jennifer, may I help you? So your question really is, what of the surrounding areas along, okay, well, allow them to answer, please. Thanks a lot, Jennifer. Really appreciate it.
Jennifer, well, first of all, you know, Jennifer identified herself. She and I get along extremely well, even though she's a member of the PNP. Isn't that so, Jennifer? But, Steve, I think Jennifer has a point. What happened is that when the sewage was put in on East Kings House Road, every now and then it collapses. In other words, Jennifer, isn't that what you're talking about? What happened is that the sewage that was put on East Kings House Road, regularly, it collapses because it sinks and create a lot of problems and dust for the people living at 30 East Kings House Road. Now, I must admit it hasn't really happened in the last year or so, but it is something when we really... Earlier this year? So every now and then you can see that the road is definitely sinking, because when the sewage went in, somehow it wasn't compact properly, and every now and then it creates a problem for the residents right in front of Lucius and there at 30 East Kings House Road. I don't know if the president, how far back on East Kings House Road do they go? Do you know?
We are going to be doing roughly 140 meters of East Kings House Road. Yes, there had been an issue historically with East Kings House Road and the sewer line. Some years ago, we intervened. You may recall that we had a night shift working there, correcting that particular situation along ourselves and the National Water Commission. And I believe that we have been fairly successful at having that particular situation dealt with. What you are speaking to is something that we'll have to take on ourselves along with the NWC to investigate firstly, to ascertain what is happening beneath those areas that would have been subsiding.
Thank you so much, Jenny, for that question, and to Mr. Shaw and Minister Chuck for their responses. And yes, Jennifer, I believe everybody in here who would have driven along that road know exactly what you're talking about. So thanks a lot for raising that matter. Anyone else with questions? We have the ministers here. We're speaking specifically about the development plans for Barbican, and in particular the roadway, the Barbican Roadway Improvement Project. Recognize that lady. Please identify yourself and the community that you're from.
Hi, good night everybody. I'm Shania and I'm from Whitcomb Road. So the work being carried out should ultimately be beneficial to the residents of Barbican and the surrounding areas. Known or not to you ministers and other members of the, known or not to you, the area that has been demolished that was once the site for McMaster's Meat Mart has become a hub for taximen and other people loitering. On Monday afternoon, there was an incident involving a nearly fatal chopping right there while I stood waiting to go home. What of the residents' safety while you, as the deputy councillor, said make Barbican a great place? I am concerned about the security of the ongoing construction site, which could pose a safety issue, especially for women.
Thank you for that question. Yes, Minister.
No, the question is about security of persons while the work is in progress.
That's correct.
Well, you know, from our standpoint, the police will have to do policing. We recognize that the workspace is going to be fairly open because you're working, it's not like a building where you can cordon off the area with zinc fence and that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. We are going to be working pretty much in an open space. But it is something that we'll have to engage the police on, because we don't want to be there working.
I'm sorry, Stephen. Just real quickly, the Prime Minister, of course, took some time to be here, but he has to leave. It was, in fact, in between two meetings. So, Prime Minister, thank you so much for joining us for the few minutes that you were here.
I also like to thank the Prime Minister. I must tell you, it's today after lunch. I say, Prime Minister, are you coming? And he says, he's not too sure. I say, you have to come, sir. So I'm glad that he was tweeted and he was here with us for a few minutes. So thanks very much, Prime Minister.
Thank you so much. All right. Yes, Stephen, you can go ahead.
I'm sure that the police being here this evening will take your particular concern on board.
All right. Thank you so much, ma'am. Yes, next question, please.
All right. Hi, good evening, everyone. I'm Jareen Patmore. Mr. Chuck, you raised...
I'm sorry, Jareen, where are you from?
I'm from Manchester, but I'm living here in Kingston now.
In Barbican?
Yeah.
Okay, yes,
All
go
right,
ahead.
so Mr. Chuck, you raised an interesting point about the increase in property value surrounding the Barbican areas. I just wanted to find out, what does that mean in terms of gentrification? How do you protect the poor people currently living here in Barbican when it comes to increase in property? So persons who don't own land, who don't own housing, how do you prevent increases in rent, for example, in this area? Is there a plan in place for this?
I think Minister Chang and Minister Chuck too.
Minister Chang will develop the point further, but let me just say this. There's no issue of gentrification in the area. When the Prime Minister spoke, and we speak about people who are living in, say, especially along the gully banks, and take it from me, we have thousands living on the gully banks. I have, in fact, if you, right, say, coming down Acadia, if you look across Elliott Avenue, not many people recognize that at the end of Elliott Avenue, right on the gully bank, you have hundreds of residents living on the gully bank. I have met with them. I have said to Minister Chang, we need to regularize and give the people living in these areas some security of tenure. Now, it may well mean that we have to put in better infrastructure along those gully banks. It is the same thing, for instance, in St. Andrews Pen Lane. A lot of these areas could be developed quite nicely. So the question of gentrification is not the answer. What I would like to see, even when we develop these areas, the residents who live in these areas must have the opportunity to return to whatever is put there.
All
Let me
right, thank
clarify
you.
a
All
little
right,
bit
thank
earlier.
you, Minister Chuck. Minister Chang, if you could
The-
add.
I think you heard about the Prime Minister about housing in the area. The development of housing for working people is one of the pillars of our policy going forward. And we said that Minister Chuck, and not keeping anybody on Gully Bank. Part of the policy is to move people off these Gully Banks, which are high-risk area, and find them homes that are safe and comfortable. So you may have to find in the areas, and I drive through that here regularly in the morning because it's easier for traffic, right? We will have to do some high-rise building, well, it's a high-rise 3 floors, 4 floors in the area so that you can retain the population on the same space, but we have to get those gully banks clear. They can be green spaces that they look like areas where residential communities, and we have to find to organize them. It is part of our policy. We have done work. The Ministry of Housing has the legal framework under the Local Improvement Community Amenities Act and the Housing Act to acquire these properties, design and build out the community. But there'll be quality housing, but at an affordable price for the people working and living in the area.
All right, thank you,
We
Minister.
have a small model I'd give you, I think if I quote one somewhere in Montego Bay, which I did in the last presentation. We had some old houses which were built as temporary units for Hurricane Charlie in 1951. They're absolutely horrible. But we built the homes, quality homes, but we gave preference to all the people resident in the community.
Okay, can you just tell me the name of the policy and then I'll go? But thank you so much. The name of the policy.
It's a housing policy. I said it is designed to housing policy.
The housing policy.
Part of our housing policy is to relocate individuals living in areas of risk into quality homes, but within the same community.
Okay,
where
thank
possible.
you.
I believe, too, if you visit the website of the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation, you'll get some more information there as well. May I also continue to say good evening to those who are joining us live on JNN, those on Love 101 FM, and of course on Cool 97 FM. Our next question comes from the chairman of the ECJ.
Well, Tricia Williamson, chairman of Early Childhood Commission.
I beg your pardon, early childhood.
But
Yes.
I'm here in the capacity as a resident of Graham Heights. So first of all, I'd like to say I do welcome this project. And I've been tweeting a lot, but I just want confirmation before I leave. When is the deadline for this to be finished?
It came in a bit late. We are looking at December.
December
2017.
2017.
Yes,
I just want to hear
2017,
that
not
loud and
18.
clear because I actually tweeted and everybody's rushing me on Twitter saying, you sure? December? So I decided to come so that it's
a
heard
4-month
again.
project from start of construction, although some of the work has been done before. But the acquisition and this demolition of the sidewalks, that's gone ahead. But once the actual roadwork starts, you're looking at 4 months, which should begin
And
this
last
month.
question, because I'm Nuff. Is there any plans to probably widen Birdsucker Lane? Just asking.
No, no. What will happen, though, my good friend, is that Tricia, is that once the traffic moves on Barbican Road, then it will move quicker on Birdsucker and also Castle Heights, Russell Heights. I think what the major work that is needed before it is completed is to put in the water pipes and the sewage. And this, I know to the best of my knowledge that the contract have been signed for the sewage pipes to go in. So right where the road is now being cleared, sewage pipes will be going in shortly. And once the sewage pipes go in, I understand also in Acadia, sewage pipes will be going on Acadia too. And the whole idea is that all of Graham Heights, Aylsham, etc., will have proper sewage so that development can take place.
All right, thank you so much, Minister. And ladies and gentlemen, please, if you could, while the questions are being responded to, it would be nice so that we can all hear, all right? So please, lady, you're the lady at the microphone, please, yes.
And by the way, you notice around Drumblair, those who drive on Drumblair, the sewage lines have started around there already, and they're just going to be continuing right up to here, and Acadia.
Good evening. My name is Charmaine Jones. I live at Birdsucker. I'm a member of the JLP. I just want to clarify something for Jennifer. The sewage that was done around there, it wasn't the JLP did it. I got some of the work on it too. I got some of the work on it, so I can clarify it. It wasn't the JLP do it, it was under the PLP.
No, I think, ma'am,
Please,
I'll allow the MP
this is,
to respond.
This is not a JLP, PNP thing. It's a question of whether the work was done properly. The truth of the matter is that the work was done. There's some settling in problem. It is being repaired.
Yes.
I think
So I
we
think,
must
I think,
admit-
right, I think the member of parliament has fully
that-
answered. I beg your
the
pardon,
MP.
ladies and gentlemen, if you could, hold on. Ladies and gentlemen, remember we have to listen to hear exactly what's happening. Minister Chang, yes.
Yeah, I know that's going to be the excitement. I know I recall we gave out the contract for that work, but all the issues being raised really, and what we'll be ensuring is done on this occasion. The President of the Water Commission is here, and Mr. Shaw will speak on behalf of NWA. Some of that had to do with the quality of the supervision of the construction work. And we're ensuring that there is continuing and quality supervision of all these works, that you don't have the kind of failure that took place at the junction of Paddington and East Kings House Road, because I actually used to live in there, and I know it was almost an embarrassment going there. But part of it is, I said, the quality of the supervision. The contractors who acquire those contracts are tendered, and therefore and the contractors win there based on tender. We are aware that in this case, Surrey Construction is, of course, one of the better construction companies in the island. They are one of the few that are what they call ISO certified. I mean, they're internationally certified as competent and capable, and will be working with the agencies. But because of previous failure in these systems, both the Water Commission and NWA is paying a much closer attention to the supervision of the works to ensure you don't get the failure afterwards.
All right. Thank you so much, Minister. Ladies and gentlemen, we are live on radio and television, and as such, I believe we have another 10 minutes before we have to officially wrap our live broadcast and our proceedings here. So please, as soon as this gentleman is finished, if you have more questions, we have to do it within 10 minutes. Sir, go ahead.
My name's Arthur Ellison. I'm a resident of this constituency. I enjoy being here because what I'm encouraging is what I saw happen in the past, which is the agency, the works agency, is supposed to act like a goad on the people who do this work on these constituencies, on these roads, and the adjoining places. The thing that gets to my mind is the fact that I've seen them do good work. I've seen them operate so well that I enjoy, as I say, living in this area because, frankly, I don't have the potholes on my road. I don't have a road collapsing. And Mr. Ennis knows it quite well. Yeah. Yeah. But the point I'm really getting at is that where you're borrowing a lot of money, where you're spending a lot of money, you also have a requirement that you not just look for sustainability. What you're looking for is a guarantee that the money you spend is it provides value.
So it's value for money that
on
you're
the
talking
taxpayers.
about. Yes, indeed.
So
sir.
this is the point I thought I'd go the agency on. This is the point I thought that you mentioned it yourself, Mr. Chang, that you want to be sure that the people who are doing the roads are not only certified, but they also supervise well the construction which is done. Look at Barbican Road over there. Excellent road, except for one ugly pothole. Certainly they could have avoided it. And equally, there's one on Ligany Avenue too.
Yes.
As I say, where I live, we don't have the potholes.
Thank you so much.
The people did good work.
Yes.
I'm encouraging you to make sure that this is repeated.
Thank you so much,
All the
sir.
way.
Really appreciate it. Our next comment, that was a comment, of course. Our next comment or question within 8 minutes.
I don't know who they're.
I'm sorry, sir. Could you speak closer to the mic?
Kevin Johnson, I'm from Caslight.
Go closer to the mic,
Okay,
or
okay.
lift the mic. Lift the mic a bit.
Two quick things. In terms of public transportation on the new highway here, where the bus terminus and the taxi terminal will be. And again now, for pedestrian using the road now as it is, 2 lane, we have problem crossing it. Going 4 lanes, how will you address that?
All right, thank you so much. Excellent question. So where will the bus route essentially be at taxi stops, at bus and taxi stops, and too importantly, for the pedestrians who have to use the road? Yes.
All right, insofar as pedestrians are concerned, we expect that the pedestrians will use the traffic lights. The areas that are signalized are the designated crossing points. We do not expect to see persons climbing the Jersey barriers, putting themselves at risk when this facility is put down. So we are going to be having a set of traffic lights by Bird Sucker, it's just across from here, another set by East Kings House and Barbican Road, and another set by Jacks Hill Road. All of these will be equipped with the appropriate facilities for pedestrians to cross. Insofar as the bus bays are concerned, or the bus bay is concerned, we are going to be having that one which is just across from Shields, and Shields will remain, and we are going to be having one just outside of Fontana.
I'm sorry, Mr. Shaw, will that also include a taxi stop as well for those who may use route taxis?
I suspect that the taxis will use the same facilities, yes.
All right. Very good. So pedestrians and motorists will all, Minister Chuck, we want to add anything in terms of the safe using of the road?
What I can tell you is that when the development, should I say the concept for this land that the architect, who is my good friend, put in place, that you will have mainly pedestrian walking up and down to shop. But he has put in the concept a nice bus stand and taxi area, because the idea is that taxis and buses bring customers to the area. So I know in the development that that area has a nice bus stand and taxi stand. But that is for the future.
All right, thank you. Are there any further questions this evening? If there are, I'll give you about 15 seconds to get to the microphone so that you may ask any question of our officials who are here. The microphone is in the middle, but I thought I heard something about job opportunities on the construction site, jobs. So, Mr. Shaw, Minister Chang, you could as well respond to.
I think you're winding up, so I just wanted to take the opportunity to comment and thank the audience for being here. This is part of the government's reaching out to the community to ensure we can convey the information on what we're doing. Yes, we are examining the development of jobs in what we term the northern belt of the corporate area. Most of, beside the regular job that will come in the development of the sort that is earmarked for here, you know, there'll be shops, offices and so forth. But with the opening of the space, there could be other activities. I saw recently announced in a hotel to go across the road right behind, just down the road. Will create bring a new set of activity, and the potential for having, you know, large volume in term office space that that will provide space for things like business process outsourcing and a certain scale is possible. So certainly jobs is the other leg of our economic development. The whole idea of having sustainable economic development and for government focusing on infrastructure, services and training is to create the framework for the private sector to invest in job creating activities. And we are having extremely positive interest in this area. And I want to assure you, in the coming few months, you will hear many, many jobs in the northern St. Andrew block. There are other areas as well.
Thanks, Dr. Chang. May I just say that in this area, you can see significant economic activity taking place. When you go in Dillsborough, I see 3 construction sites starting. I go in Acadia, several construction sites starting. The area, because of the peace that we have across Barbican, Grand Spen, Castle Heights, Birdsucker, people are now see that prosperity can follow the peace. And you can see Sugar and Spice just open across there. And believe me, these various business institutions before long will be employing more personnel from around the community. And with more business places opening up on Birdsucker across in this area, it will be possible that all of our people will get jobs, walk to your job rather than having to take bus to go downtown or to go halfway tree. I'm really hoping that the people in our community will get the jobs that will be created. Barbican Center, right there, has created a lot of jobs, and people are coming from outside into these jobs. I'm really hoping that more people in Barbican and Grand Spen and Birdsucker will get the jobs at Sugar and Spy, all the different business institutions.
All right, thank you so much, Member of Parliament for Northeast St. Andrew, the Honorable Delroy Chuck, who is also the Minister of Justice, and that's a wonderful note on which to end. May I thank the Member of Parliament for hosting us, the Minister without Portfolio in the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation, Dr. Horace Chang, Mr. Stephen Shaw, who had our display up and explained exactly what will be happening regarding the Barbican Road Improvement Project, the Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation at the Office of the Prime Minister, Mrs. Audrey Sewell, and certainly all of you for coming out. We really appreciate it. Stay tuned to OPM Live. We'll be in another community very soon explaining the plans and policies and development that the government has for you. Until another time, have a good evening, everybody.
Girl this morning, and she was beauty to my eyes. I asked her where she from, she tell me in the tropics. She asked me what's my name, I tell her I am Connie. And I said, girl, tell me what's your name, and she tell me that her name is Jamaica. And I said, smile, girl, smile, smile for me, Jamaica. And I said, smile, girl, smile, ooh Lord, smile for me, Jamaica. Never you cry, here am I, yeah, I'm here for you, Jamaica. Dry your eyes, girl, smile, smile for me, Jamaica. Lord, hey, she have a rich history, a beautiful woman with the sweetest gifts. Beautiful sunrise and an evening kiss of a nice sunset on the evening season. But she tell me, say she tired of the exploit and the liars. She give them reggae, give them beaches, give them flowers and the ferns. All she got is abuse in return. But I say, don't you worry yourself, mama. Hey, Chronix is here to your help, mama. Ooh, I said, no worry yourself, mommy. One thing me, I beg you do for me. And I say, smile, girl, smile. Smile for me, Jamaica. And I said, smile, girl, smile. Hey, smile for me, Jamaica. Never you cry, here am I. Girl, I'm here for you, Jamaica. What must I try? Oh, my. That she asks me, and this I want me say, a sweet, sweet Chronix, you fi give them. The one drop beat pan a rhythm. Are you give them bop with a different step in? Are you give them bolt, nobody can run left him, boy. But see ya, them must see things, say you're out of ideas. You give them art and sweet literature. You gonna make the world see the better picture. I said, no worry yourself, mama. Chronix is here to your help, mama. Hey, I said, no worry yourself.